All right, we're live.
We are live. Good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone's well. What we're going to try to do for the next 30 days and meet all mandates and requests that we can for Grundy County, Marion County, and of course the governor. So that's the reason we're going FaceTime live. We will be limiting the room to 10 people. We want to say we do have our audio system that's now set up. We will be going live with Facebook, with GCTV. So if anyone wants to engage that way, we may be doing Google Meetings or Zoom if we need that. So we'll be making sure, and people can send in information. Michelle, you'll be watching as well, won't you?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we get questions or comments, of course, this is only a workshop tonight, then we'll be going from there. We do have our departments here. I'm gonna ask them, if it's okay with y'all, if we can go ahead and bring them out so we can discuss items after they leave. Jack, do you wanna start? Oh, Jessica Blaylock is out tonight because she has tested positive for COVID, so she is quarantined. So say a prayer for her, she said, and her family.
Dun, dun, dun.
I have a report, monthly report. It's a little low because we do it on the citations, because we do a 2-month cycle on the citations. We have had 3 theft, larceny, arrest, 1 aggravated assault, 1 burglary, 2 drug related. We have had 6 accidents in the city, which you're gonna guess that's probably due to the upcoming holiday, all the traffic. We've had 10 citations total, right now. The amount for that is $685.80 that have been paid on that. I would like to present, we're needing some, targets for our firearms training. They come in at $100 per pack and they're $32.
I mean, normally if it's something like that, it's you have a budget, right?
Right.
To do it, it just goes through Tim Hop, it's that minimum, because it doesn't even meet the minimum amount. There was something else, if you don't mind today, and we'll just briefly discuss it, but there's been some areas that there's been theft and other areas that he's probably going to start watching, and with remote eyes. So we will not necessarily know where it's at, but he's gonna get some cameras for that. About how many do you think you needed to get, Jack?
I would like to purchase 2 more, which we'll have to have a box for that as well.
They're around.
Yeah, they're around the 4 for here, and the box for roughly, I think it was around $200.
So it's the minimum, but it's something that right now they can watch from anywhere with all things going on and with COVID and people being down. And one of the things that we mentioned is put them in just different places so they can start monitoring more. So.
They'll move around, so they won't always be in the same place.
Well, it will be, it's gonna be on a building.
A couple of them.
Right, there's a couple of them on the building here. I have 4 to go in City Hall now, so that way we can watch mine and watch the boats whenever we get those up and working.
So are these gonna be ones that'll permanently be in a single location, or they'll move around?
Yes, they're on the building.
Okay, so they'll all be on municipal buildings?
Right.
Okay.
And then if he needs more, that he can float them as far as purchasing some. He said he got 4 for $200 plus the boxes, is that right?
Right.
So, but he'll let us know whenever. I mean, we're not making decisions tonight, just informing y'all that's one of the ways that he's going to start, because he can access those houses.
To try to start combating crime, because it helps us, it gives us a better reference point on where to go. Instead of us having to go and talk to 5 different people trying to see if they witnessed anything or anything like that, and if we have cameras and we can, hit the ground running.
So
Sure,
how
yeah.
many do you have now?
I have 4 for here,
And you
for
want how
each
many more?
corner. I'm gonna purchase 2 more.
But again, just cause I think the community might be interested, you're talking about surveillance on municipal buildings.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
And he'll go ahead and put them up. We may not know where they're at per se, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And and of course, again, this is
I
discussion,
like the
but,
idea of it.
yeah, but we talked about it today, and that way they can have eyes on things whenever they're not there, and hopefully not only combat crime, but hopefully you can find deter, in
Oh,
certain
right,
ways,
right.
and also.
But you can't really put them up on private buildings,
No.
but, you know, it would be nice if you could, cause you're just gonna be watching this building and the building's right in the middle of town, if you could do the other end also. You know, I know we can't, but I'm just saying it would be nice if we could.
Yeah, I would love to have some on the pig.
Well, maybe we can talk to business owners later, you can go and talk, and if they want you to float some around, that would be something that might help.
Or even some utility poles or something, you know, something like that would be good. You know? I'm all for the idea,
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Well, there was
Well,
somebody,
it helps us out.
Mhm.
and they did a great job too, not, the volunteers did, the employees did, but everybody knows, and, we had no reports of anyone getting sick when we had the
Parades.
parades and Santa. You know, we took every precaution we could during that time, but I'm sure they would have been, but of course, we're gonna take it more now, but thank y'all for all you did, and of course, the city workers as well.
Right.
Yeah, for what they did,
actually
and,
did a great job.
and volunteers and fire department, and everybody just worked together, and it just, I think it came together seamlessly almost.
Had an awesome
And
time.
the people that donated was a Mountain Goat Market, that they donated, you know, cookies, and then, of course, Piggly Wiggly, and, am I leaving anyone out that donated items? Of course, the town did some peppermint sticks, but those two businesses did donate.
You hit me up to donate some money, and I'm sure welcome.
Well, you don't have to now that, see, whenever the pig did their part, and the Mountain Goat covered the entire park, they wouldn't take anything.
Oh, okay.
We'll just give them a shout out for what they did, you know, and we will at the meeting again, but I think it went well.
It
Did you,
did,
Jack?
it did, it went very well.
Okay, and of course, Miss Russell that took the pictures for everybody, so nobody got close to anyone, so that worked out well. Thank you, Michelle,
You're
for taking those pictures. So, if you wanna get another department head to come in, then, and then we're gonna make y'all stay. Karen, once we go through the department heads just doing their little briefing, then we'll get you up here, so you don't have to stay long either, so, okay? There you go, sir, there's your microphone now.
Huh?
There's your microphone. Okay, we have Mr. Butler that's with roads and
Roads and Christmas lights.
plus more.
Yeah.
Ditches and leaves and all the other stuff. Do you have anything to report to us there, sir?
No, just, trying to get the rest of the leaves up. People's got out, trying to clean a few of the ditches out that's packed with leaves. A few culverts we're gonna have to try to change.
Well, I know we did discuss the, Monteagle School, the hole that came up there
We
that you
got-
temporarily
We got it,
patched.
we got it temporary patched, yeah.
And then contacting T-Dot and Marion County to see if they can do
Right.
more work with it.
Well,
It's
good
just-
luck with Marion County. so.
Well, I'm just saying it, we're
Yeah.
gonna try. And then another thing, you were gonna work on a roads list for us as far as what, for the most severe roads on down, they're working on that, and then, of course, we'll get a committee later, cause right now, we're not gonna get committees with what's going on with COVID.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's still the same stuff, but like I say, first, before you even attempt doing any road work, you gotta get the ditches and then do culverts before you even attempt. I mean, you don't wanna go fix a new road and then have to go cut it in two and put a new culvert under it.
No, but you're doing a list for us as you get those done.
We've done them, yeah. We've done the ones over here, you know, so we just have to get a few at a time in between everything else, between water leaks and taps and other things like that.
While y'all are doing that, I'm going to text Jessica Blaylock and see if she has anything, cause she's the one that called me back. I'm gonna call and see if she has anything, or
Oh,
text her.
About the school road.
Yeah, if she has any other comments or, you know,
Yeah, that's really a state deal. I mean,
And it's starting to get in pretty bad shape all through the corridor.
yeah,
So I reached out to the engineering department 6 months ago when they asked us, with this grant that we're gonna talk about, you know, they asked us to stretch it on out and bring it all the way through town to the intersection here with Fairmont Street.
right.
And we told them we didn't have enough money, and, Kenneth at the time had thought that it was scheduled for paving. And I checked, and it wasn't on the paving schedule, but they were gonna check and see if we could maybe integrate it into this project, getting the trail down through downtown, and see if we could pave it at the same time, cause that would save us, if we're gonna restripe it, it'd be really expensive for them to grind the paint off.
Yeah.
If they can just move up their paving schedule, that would take care of two birds with one stone.
Well, I mean, that's not gonna happen till spring anyway, so, you know,
No, yeah,
all the paving stuff's closed down now, so.
this would be probably fall of 21.
Yeah.
Well, and they've done that in the past. I know, haven't they, Butner, that they have come in and they've worked on the roads and then they have striped us for us.
Yeah,
Whenever they redid the bike lanes, because that's their responsibility.
Right.
So if we get it to it, it saves us a lot of money, you know, at that time. And so, but anyone else have anything?
We'll probably wanna get your opinion when we talk about, we're gonna be talking about the trail, we've got money to run the trail on down. And DeBose wants us to put it on that part of College Street that you probably know is already, the county's already turned, or the city's already turned back over to them.
Here you go, I'm gonna give him mine and I'll just share it with you, if you don't care. You let,
Steve, what about the places where it's over the water line and sewer line? When something goes wrong, you have a water leak or a sewer leak under there.
We just have to cut it and fix it, I mean, we've
Yeah,
done that.
who's gonna be responsible for coming back and repaving that or whatever?
Well, it'll be the town's trail. So if there's some stuff that needs to be taken care of beforehand, well, what we were gonna talk about is actually what to do with the part of College Street that's still part of the city, that's still owned by the city on out beyond, DeBose Center.
Yeah,
We can talk about it now, or.
let's just
I
go
know.
ahead and do it if you want to, and that way when we get done with Butner, you can go home if you want to.
Sure, okay.
Okay.
Well, you probably know, remember when Charles Rollins gave most of College Street back to DeBose Center? So
Right.
everything from the corner up to the edge of the DeBose Center is not really public street. It all belongs to DeBose Center. And they wanna put the trail on College Street. They want the trail running right up next to them, which is great, cause that makes cheap construction. You're just paving on top of the paving that's already there.
oh, you're putting it on the road.
On the road, yeah.
But we're gonna.
But the
cut
question
some.
is, the road, College Street after DeBose Center is still a city street.
Right.
The cheapest thing to do for the town, and well, and for construction, for the trail standpoint, is just leave the trail on College Street all the way down to that next intersection. And,
To Bennett.
yeah, and then give, so they got 3 landowners there. Privet, Lane, and I think it's the Church of Christ, does it?
I think
corner
that-
lot?
I think it is the Church of Christ.
Well, the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance owns all that property in between where the old rail bed was. And so our thought is to just deed that over to them. So give Mr. Privet the property in front of him, give Miss Lane the property in front of her, and give the Church of Christ the property in front of the church, and go ahead and pave them driveways all the way out to DeBose Street, and take all of College Street out of public circulation, so it takes that road off the city's maintenance budget. You don't have to worry about it anymore, it's gone. We don't have to do that, but so I wanted to kind of get everybody's opinion. The other,
Is this DeBose here?
that's DeBose.
Okay, so this is the section you and I talked about before, so would this be Indian Bennett here, is that what you're telling me, the way it's taking
Now,
us?
this is the way, so this whole trail section, this is all DeBose property, right? Like, cause they own
Right.
College Street, and this
Yeah.
is the way they want it to run. The question is,
I didn't think they had it off, I thought it stopped at the gate, down here.
No,
You
it
sure?
stops at their property boundary.
Well, then we need to read the deed again, because you and I looked at this years ago, if you remember?
Mhm.
I thought it was at their second entrance. We need to read that, because I'm thinking, we need to look at the deed again. I mean, I'd like to refresh it, it's been
I've
4
got it.
years since that we looked at it, so we need to really look at that deed and let everybody become familiar with it. Can we do that?
Yeah, I've got it in my laptop, I just didn't print it out, but, we just gave it to them, they had a board meeting last week, and they approved, this is what they wanted to do. But the question is, what do we do beyond DeBose? Do we move it back onto the old rail bed, or do we leave it on the street? And The old rail bed is just in between DeVoe Street and College.
Well, you've got a sewer line going right up the edge of it.
Can you show us where's that, Butler? Can you,
On
let me
that
do
road.
mine? So, we have a little bit more. Here,
So what you're saying is we're gonna go from this section here, and we're gonna do the road, not the railroad.
I'm asking.
But the road, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, but the road, and then once we get to where Jim Lane used to live, we're gonna go back to the railroad bed?
Well, that's the question. My thought is, from a town's perspective, the cheapest thing from maintenance is to just leave it on the road till we get all the way up to Joe B's old place. And then give those 3 homeowners, just pave them a driveway on out to DeVoe Street and give them all the property in between, so.
alright, so, you're gonna go from their house to DeVoe
To
Street.
DeVoe Street.
Okay,
So
you're gonna go
rather-
through the mediums, or right now it'd be a medium is what I'm looking at, I was
Yeah.
trying to get, a
And I'm
mental picture here.
And we would deed that over to them, so it'd be theirs.
Well, at one time,
Yeah.
at one time, it was their corner, where you're talking about DeVoe's.
Mhm.
At one time, it was supposed to cut across right there, and that was supposed to be the end of the road.
And see, that's what I was told, that Nate's saying it goes all the way down to the end of the
To
street.
the end of their property.
That's right, okay, then we're.
Which is right there
Yeah.
where this map
Where
is.
you're talking
Yeah.
about lane,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, back this way, the corner, that road was supposed to
Well-
cut across right there, and all that was DeVoe.
Yeah, let me see this, no, so what you're saying, let's pretend these are houses here, so there's Mr. Privet, here's Raymond Privet's right here. And he would go over to DeVoe Street, and then Miss Lanes would go over to DeVoe Street, and then the church across right there on the corner would go over to DeVoe Street, and then we wouldn't have to maintain this any.
You wouldn't have to
We'd
maintain
only
this
have
road,
one
it'd
road,
be
but
a
we'd
trail.
stop, we would stop here, it starts there at the corner, correct? That's what you want to stop, on the, it starts right on the corner, correct?
Yeah, that's where you got the little gravel
Yeah.
area.
It
Well,
starts,
my memory could be wrong, but I thought they gave DeVoe Street this part of College Street too, did they
no,
not?
I think it's just up there in
I
front of
thought it
DeVoe's.
just went to their
I think
corner.
I think it is too, but we'll have to check
I mean, I
It's
don't know, that was before
It's
my
been
time.
almost 5 years since, or 6 years when you and I looked at it, and, we discussed it and talked about it, and the grant was done, and then we didn't pursue it.
But I think regardless, the question is,
Yeah.
from the town's perspective, so my thought is, if we move the trail back onto the median, or back onto where the old rail bed used to be,
Right,
that gives us then College Street, which we have to maintain as a street, and the trail, which we have to maintain, it's sort of twice the asphalt.
and you've got an 8-inch water line running right down the middle of the railroad.
And it's so
But
complicated.
here's what I was
because then you
gonna
got-
say, though, it'd be cheaper to fix this than to maintain this road. I see his point, if we
Yeah,
took that
yeah.
section of road out,
Yeah,
then we wouldn't have to maintain this section of College Street, it would just be gone.
Right,
We
exactly.
could pull it out.
Well, it'd be a trail.
Well, I mean,
Be gone as a road.
it'd be gone as a road, and it could be added onto whatever,
To
and
the-
that way,
yeah.
we only have to, if we had a problem, we just have the driveways,
Right.
No,
which
well,
would make more sense.
I would say we deed the driveways over to the landowner.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
let them take care of it.
We
Yeah.
pave them when we pave it and give them a nice driveway, but then it become theirs.
oh yeah, it becomes theirs, but what I'm saying, since we know there's a water line there. If
we
there
have
was
to
a water
maintain it,
line, if we have to maintain it, we would have to repair that
Exactly.
driveway,
Yeah.
is what Butler's talking
Yeah.
about, or that sewer line, we would have to repair that, that'd be on us. But maintaining this would be just 3 small sections versus that much of a
Right.
road.
So
Which, I mean, we can't do anything tonight, but if you could put that together in a proposal with the things, I'm sure we can do.
So that was my thought, so I've talked a little bit to Mr. Privet about it, but I need to go with everything being like it is, I haven't wanted to knock on too many doors. But I wanna sort of present it to them, but I wanted to get y'all's opinion first.
I think it sounds like a good idea, if you're getting trail out of it, that's already, basically.
Right, so we would put a fresh coat of asphalt on it as part of it.
2 inches of asphalt, probably.
Jessica has posted that there is a concern with fire trucks as a main way, as well as for emergency vehicles not being able to get through there.
They have a driveway right up to the house.
Yeah, I mean, the driveway's gonna be legal until, and also, then you're gonna have DeVoe Street, that's already a legal street, so you're just got a little bit longer driveway to go through.
Will the walking trail hold up to 30,000 pounds of water when the houses catch fire? Because that's what one fire truck holds.
Well, Well, yeah, driveway would, because driveways do now.
They would go up the driveway. They would have
Yeah.
direct access from DeBow Street on the
Yeah.
driveway to the houses.
Okay,
So
and the
then-
trail, but the trail would, that trail bedding would be able to hold that
Yeah,
weight?
so we always beef it up at a crossing to be able to handle
Okay, that was
it.
her
And it would
concern.
be, in this case, it'd be an old road anyway.
That's the
It'd
road
be
they're
College
currently
Street,
using.
yeah.
So, I mean, they're not making any changes. They're already using that road for fire trucks now.
Okay.
Well, I've got a question. Let's just say Miss Lane is moving in and out of her driveway. Is there a problem with her being on the goat trail?
No, so when you deed them over, you deed them all the property, and it would just be, there would be access for the trail, but it would just, she would cross the trail with her car back and forth every time she needed to come in and out.
Okay.
It wouldn't prohibit her crossing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked the trail from the dollar store in
Yes.
front of the property that Gene owns? I think it's Gene Nixon owns that. But there's access points.
Right.
The same thing.
Like
Where's
it's
John at?
like
That
sewer
you-
plant
Yeah, that you
road.
can drive
Yeah, I
across
just didn't
there.
want anybody
So,
to say, well, she's back out.
no, it wouldn't, because they get access to those points, right?
Cooley's Rip has a lot.
Yeah.
Coming across.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, Cooley's Rift's the same thing.
Yeah, I just didn't want anybody to say, well, you know, she's gonna
Oh,
be
no.
backing out over the, or
No.
pulling out over the goat trail or whatever.
No.
So,
She will be.
we can just find out where the deed's at, and then he can present
Yeah.
something, cause
Like
we're just
I said, I
talking
was
right now.
thinking- Yeah, I would just say that road, you know, was, years ago was supposed to be cut across.
Well, we'll go with what the deed says, we'll have to, because that's what's legal. You
Yeah,
know,
I can pull it up here.
Yeah.
Then.
and what Deb said, she's got it on the desk too, if we want to make sure we deal with it before, then we might be ready by the meeting, we may not, that's the reason we're 7 days ahead, you know, to work on it. Oh.
So what it'll leave us with is, depending on how the deed is right in front of DeVoe Street, whether that's a public street, and I could be wrong on that. So it would leave us with that to maintain. It would leave the town, when it's all over with, most of that strip is owned by DeVoe Street, by the DeVoe Center. But the DeVoe Center deed to the rail bed doesn't go as far as the DeVoe Center deed to College Street. So it leaves, the Mountain Goat Trail has, I think, 3.5 acres in there.
In the median?
In the median. And so most of that we would deed back up to the church, to Miss Lane, and Miss Privet, but it would leave us with almost an acre in there between what DeVoe Street owns and what Mr. Privet would get.
Right.
And, what we've been thinking about is, we're gonna put I'm gonna forget the name now, Craig, Mr. Craig, his family donated that property to Mountain Goat Trail. And, we'd like to put a bench in his honor there, on that little piece of property.
Right.
And also, Mr. Adams, Hal Adams, has been a great supporter of this town in general. And with his wife recently passing, we were gonna put a bench in honor of his wife there, and maybe put a bicycle repair station like we put in Swanee, we're about to put in Tracy City. But anyway, make that little, it would be right across from Hannah-Pickett Park, it'd almost be a part of that. And it would also provide a little opportunity there, if the town wanted to, we could have some actual parking that was ours, rather than counting on the DeVoe Center to use their parking every time we have a Hannah-Pickett event. But that's what our thought is.
How are you gonna block traffic off? Right here and down here?
We'll probably pull this pavement and plant it to grass and just take it all out.
Jessica also had a question about, there seems to be people driving on the trail. She said she saw 2 people drive from Mountain Outfitters to Dollar General on the trail.
Okay,
What,
Brave people, aren't you?
very brave.
Happens in Tracy about every other night.
What do
This
you-
must be during the day.
Yeah.
I have heard a report or two about it, but I don't think it's happening with any frequency.
okay.
I mean, before they, put up those barriers, I guess you call them, what are they called?
Called bollards.
Bollards. Yeah, and you may wanna look at putting those in the middle to stop people from driving, I don't know,
Well, you
Oh.
have-
if it becomes a problem.
You have to.
Sorry, that wasn't Jessica, that was someone else. My apologies.
They've got them like sewer plant road.
Well, that's what I was saying, I know they're at the sewer plant, because we had the same issue
And they're
that
on
was
the
first
new
developed.
part up here by
Yeah,
the housing authority on each end.
are they?
I haven't seen anybody drive on it,
I've never seen them either, but
you know?
that could have been somebody who didn't wanna walk from the dollar store to the Mountain Outfitters, I don't know, or vice versa.
But how do you stop that?
I
You know?
You put those, if you put those ballards in there,
I
you
mean,
can,
other than that, that's it.
you know, but it's almost sad, you just,
But if you wanna drive from Mountain Outfitters to Dollar General, you're pretty lazy.
what do you do on the trail at the Mountain Outfitters?
Yeah,
right.
So, but hey, it is what it is.
It took more effort.
Hey,
to
where did
get
Jack
my
go? We
home.
might need a camera down there for you know, hey. Yeah. So is this done for now?
Yeah, so what I'll do is for next week, I'll have a little sketch, I'll have the engineers draw up a little sketch, and we'll just simply say that we're in support of that, and then we'll go talk to the landowners, cause again, you know, the landowners may not want the property, but I think they will, I mean.
Probably would
Giving them
make it more
something,
value
yes.
than town, so.
And we have to check the deed.
Yeah, well,
Well,
Was that never a street, I mean, from, where from the corner here, wasn't that a city street? From, on the other side of here, by the boats,
yeah,
where their corner stops.
yeah, but see what happened?
That's not a city street.
It
there on-
was, but in the deed, whenever town hall was built,
Yeah,
was it Charles that was mayor then? I don't remember who was mayor, cause
Yeah.
Nate's the one who brought it to my attention, they actually traded property, and it's actually in
that,
the
even
deed.
that,
The corner of, I know this.
no, it's still city street, but we're saying we pull it off the road
Okay,
list,
okay.
it would cease to be a city street.
Alright.
That's what we're saying,
Yeah.
that it should have, it's a city street, but it's been negotiated in the past.
Okay.
Is that the best way to put it?
I just know it was before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that way we wouldn't have to maintain it as a city street anymore.
that's what I'm
Right,
saying,
yeah.
that's it.
And
Not
then
all
the
the way
rest
to
was
the end.
city street.
But what he's saying was almost makes sense if we had those driveways, it could save money in the long run if we can do that. All right, while we're on the Mountain Goat, Debbie did check, and Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, but our insurance does cover the volunteers now. So I know whenever we discussed it years ago, that we'd have volunteers to help maintain the trail. So can we sort of do that, because what's happening with the guys, and they tell me about, it, and what I've asked them to do from now on, is that people would call them for like, well, when we walk sometimes, it would be a
Yeah.
branch like this.
Yeah, I
And-
carried a chainsaw from the bridge nearly to the crossing for.
But what I'm saying is
I
to
said-
take
I
a
said the
picture from
saw
now.
down- I did, I said,
Yeah.
I don't have it.
Well, I'm just saying from
I
now.
set the saw down beside it, took a picture, and I thought, now listen, you're riding a bicycle, sure you can get off.
I have to do that all the time in Swanee, and it's just, so what I'm working on, and I don't have a draft for us to look at, what I'm working on is simply a one pager that says, these are all the things that needs to happen. We will set up an info email so that y'all aren't having to deal with that, so that if people have a complaint like that, it comes to us.
Right.
And then we have a list of, these are the things that we can handle. But there's some things that we can't handle, cause we don't have the equipment to handle it. And so it just sort of lays that out and provides that opportunity, and we can put that link then on the town's webpage. So say if there's a trail issue, go here, and it'll go to our office, and we'll be able to vet it and say, okay, is this something the town needs to deal with, or is that something we deal with?
But I know with the winter months, one thing we've talked about when people are walking so much, if we can get some volunteers that will help, we've covered them. Then when the employees can do it, because there's the leaves and the ice and the different things that somebody could follow, and so there is that volunteer. Cause I know that was in the beginning when we created the relationship with the Mountain Goat years ago, there would be volunteers that maintain it. Then you said the insurance, yours would not cover it, but since ours will,
Yeah.
then we can get that listed. That way everybody can work together and make sure it's even maintained even better.
Yeah, so the hang up last time was our insurance company just wants a certificate of additionally insured, which shouldn't cost anybody anything. It just is a printout that our insurance company can say, oh, your insurance company is holding our volunteers insured, which I'm sure they are anyway. It's just a matter of getting the certificate to our insurance company.
Okay, dumb question.
Okay.
What if I come up there and say, after I slipped and fell on some ice, well, I was volunteering to clear the Mountain Goat.
Yeah.
How do you know you're covered? How do you keep from saying John Doe over there, who just walks up and says, well, I was actually clearing and I fell?
Well, they would, so the trail is a park. So it's under the insurance. It would be just like if somebody tripped and fell in Hannah Pickett Park.
Which used to be.
So-
But do you have a list of volunteers?
A schedule of volunteers that you would send out, is what she's trying to get at.
So,
We
yeah,
probably would need some kind of schedule to make it
So
validated.
not anybody that
Yeah.
just falls and gets hurt can say, well, I was volunteering and your insurance needs to pay for it or whatever, you know?
so we'll have, what we have been working with is a list of people who have volunteered to do certain tasks. And so when something comes up, we send them a note saying, hey, we've got a report that this is happening on the trail, can you go take care of it? So that would create that list, but I guess my thinking is whether that person fell thinking they were volunteering, whether they were or they weren't, I mean, it's just like anybody would have fallen at any place, whether they were falling here at City Hall or, right? 'Cause
Well,
Yeah, I just, covering bases.
but I understand what you're saying, what we found out with other programs, with our insurance, if we had volunteer programs, whoever was coordinating that, like Patrick would say, would provide us, this is a list of volunteers that's gonna be volunteering for November or December or January. Now, we don't really have to have the times, but if any of those folks fell, of course, there is signs now posted, don't ride your bike, I'm paraphrasing, across the bridge, and then we've talked about, in the spring when we can, that they're gonna put down some substance that keeps you from sliding, but you can't do it at certain times either, right?
yeah, we've got the money to do it, we just need dry weather.
And so there's certain things, but, it's like anything else. We'll do our best, but working with those volunteers that actually come through the mountain and go, they can probably provide us a monthly list that says, we have these volunteers that volunteer during the month of January. I'm just doing hypothetical, and
So-
then,
Yes, we will maintain that list.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna come important, the situation that I could see arise, somebody driving down it, cause they were just curious and wanted to drive down it, and then saying, oh, well, I was volunteering, I was looking for sticks or something like that, that's
well,
where
that's
the
like
issue would
insane
come
now.
up.
Well, it said, do not drive on the trail,
Drive
period.
on the trail.
Let's go, we can say that, do not drive on the trail, regardless, you can't do that, so.
Just curious.
Okay, well, that's a good question to ask, and how we handle it from this point on, working with Patrick. While we're there, a Mountain Goat grant, I know there's an email exchange, right, that we're doing. And so to be able, for me to sign the documents need to be changed, and those are supposed to be done. I'm gonna call Patrick myself tomorrow and see if it's held up for any reason. I know you sent me the information. Friday, we had,
Sounds like they got staffing changes, if that's the issue,
Yeah.
TDOT's got a bunch of people changing
But-
hands.
I wanna make sure that we're not holding it up on there, and so I'm gonna talk to Patrick myself, so I'll give him a call, and we'll make sure that that's expedited as quickly as it can, but with everything sort of in a shutdown, working from home mode, things are slower and people get back with you, but we'll do our best to get it done just as quickly as we can. But I know she's been contacting him. Friday I meant to, but I think I sent y'all a picture of the mysterious animal that everybody's on the hunt for. We do have this weird animal, but we're looking for it, so I guess that's the way you describe it, right? So I just was marking it out since we were talking Mountain Goat, if that's all right with y'all.
I think he's sitting in there, that weird little animal.
Is it? Well, does anybody else have anything else for Butler? Jessica did say thank you very much for getting to it and fixing the repair at the school road. So she just sent a text to tell you, so.
Lights look
And those
awesome.
lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got lots of compliments about the lights.
Yeah,
It
Thank
looks
you.
wonderful.
That's a good thing.
in the town's just, everybody's coming out. I'm even noticing more people putting out wreaths than what lights. Have y'all noticed that? It just.
And there's people in the park all hours.
Taking
I mean,
pictures.
Like
Yeah.
late.
Yeah,
you
which
know,
is,
great.
and I know Jack and them are watching that too. And so, but the thing is, that's great sports for people to enjoy during this
Yeah.
time. Do you have anything that anybody on that? She just like.
See, I told you. the word
Well, you
animal.
send a little, well, we have John that's over the
Alright, thank you.
utilities and he's coming. You're next. You don't have to
Get 'em
stay
all
anymore down there
down.
if you don't want to. That way more people want to come in and get rotated. Well, I feel like a doctor's office today, don't y'all? It's, there you go. It's happy to be rotated. There he is, the man with the plan.
That's right.
Are you feeling better after your surgery?
Yeah, doing good.
Are you back yet?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Well, good thing, cause Jerome's out, isn't he?
Yeah, I'll keep going.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that good? All right. Software, is that the software quote we looked at, the proposal?
Plant fish too.
Yeah. Is this another one, John? Or have you met with Travis yet?
No.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. And I talked to John about it, we had surgery, I just didn't have a chance to talk to y'all because Travis called. Travis said what he would like to do, Wilson, I just want to, because he said what he'd like to do, since his wife's having surgery on the 28th, so he can't be here. And John wants to go with John to the plant. He wants to go with software. What he found out from this company, it's not been upgraded in several years. So that's the reason it's so expensive. However, Travis said he's looked at, it is a proprietary type software, but what he would like to do is get with the salesman and say, what do we actually need versus John and Jerome's plant needs. And you were okay with doing that, right, when you could come up?
The 9th, he's supposed to come up.
Yeah, so they've scheduled a meeting, if that's all right, then they'll get back with what we need to purchase for that. That's okay with
So
you.
we won't need to take any action on that at the next meeting, is that right?
No, not right now.
No, and if something comes up and he gets something to us, he will. And while we're talking about Travis, I did mention this to John too. For us to be able to just apply for a CDBG grant, which is gonna be coming available, did they say February? Is that what I told you?
I think so.
Travis said we have to have a public hearing. Not that we're specifically applying for any project, but any infrastructure, you have to have that before you can put in an application. So he gave Debbie the language for the public hearing on January the 5th, which will be at 5:45. And of course, I think we'll receive this list of potential meetings that we're having and why, and we can go through that in a minute. So if you are good with that, that takes care of that one too. If you have any questions. Nate? Jessica? Does the other Jessica have any questions about that? I don't know if I think she's watching, but like I said, this is not for anything specific, it's just for our infrastructure needs, if we're going to apply for it. But if we don't do it, we can't apply for it through this software.
And it's already been advertised.
And so, I got the paper here. And you've also got the Herald.
Yeah.
Cause that's the messenger since we use the Herald.
Is that right before the planning commission then?
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Jessica
before.
says good here.
Okay, good job. So, all right. Back to the Dom. Let's go ahead and, since it's utilities, if that's okay, if we can deal with that. As we know, is Jack still out there? Hey Jack, we did a police report, right? So correct me if I'm wrong since we're live. We did a police report because Rick called, was it you and told you the motor was gone and some of the stuff was gone the night after our meeting, okay?
Call Carl, Keith.
Alright, well, he called one of the department heads, and I sent Jack up there, correct me if I'm wrong or not, and said it was missing, the, motor, and you wanna tell what you did for the report, so what you found out?
It's on drive, and that was a thorough police report done on that. And I've actually went back since and, got with, Mr. Guilty here and Mr. White. And I was there when they removed it.
And it was them that removed it in the middle of the night, but we did a police report, what if somebody had stolen it? But we didn't know that, cause when we asked for the contract and the insurance, I guess they didn't wanna do it. So, but we had to have that according to our insurance company. So, since then though, Franklin County has been up, correct me if I'm wrong, I know Butler was here, but he may have left. They are planning on bringing us cardboard recycling containers. They're hoping to get it to us this week, but with Christmas and New Year's, of course now with COVID, I don't know how they're working their shifts. But they're planning on bringing us cardboard recycling containers, that only cardboard that can come in. We break down the cardboard, we put it in there, if they come and get it, there's no cost, there's no liability, it's just the containers that will be cardboard only. They pick it up every Tuesday, once we get set up. So, that's what we're doing now, but to handle that as soon as we can get them out there. But until then, look at alternatives to see how we, oblige our residents to that. You know, and with this one, we do have situations we probably need to address in the near future, so.
Well, I think we need to hear from Grundy County and Marion County first to see what they want us to do, and that may help us determine what we might do. So I've been calling around to see what our alternatives are if Marion County, because I know their tipping fees have gone up. If they start really restricting or asking us to really restrict who gets to use that recycling or who gets to use that convenience center, and if Grundy County does the same thing, that's going to be pretty hard on our employees for something that really we don't have that much of a dog in the fight, right? I mean, we're there to make sure that the trash is hitting the cans. But if they start really asking us to do a bunch of enforcement on who's dumping what when, that's going to create a pretty heavy burden on our employees. And so Maryland showed me what we were paying to operate that thing. And I called around, and it looks like we can save money for the town and contract with a third party to do curbside pickup. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe.
I mean, it bears a little bit more investigation. I don't think there's, depending on what Marion County and Grundy County do. I mean, it may be that they're fine running like we're running, and you know, as long as everybody's got a place to dump their trash, maybe it doesn't make sense to change, but it does look like there's some opportunities. So I've been calling around to see. I talked to city council in Callan and figured out how they do it. They do it all in-house. That's probably not anything we want to do. But I've primarily been talking to Richardson Waste because they do several towns in Tennessee. They do Swanee for one, but they also do a couple of towns west of here. And it really seems like it could be a reasonable option if we start running into trouble with our convenience center. I don't know if y'all thoughts on it. I've just been checking around, calling around.
Mayor Jackson and Mayor Brady, I've spoken with them both on different occasions, and they are working on this. They had planned on being at the workshop just to listen tonight, but they both called today and said they would not be here, you know, with the governor's order and what they're doing with it. And we can get into that in a minute too, on what they're doing for county. I haven't spoken with Franklin County. It's not because Franklin County residents are not important, but there's only like 12 houses we have in Franklin County, so the city really affects us more here. Of course, Michael, when I spoke to Mayor Brady this afternoon, actually I spoke to him about 5, he said that he would be getting some information to you tomorrow on the pandemic side of the house. I've got Mayor Jackson's here, and I think y'all got a copy of it. But, so they went sort of off the trash pickup and got onto this, since, you know, the governor had a, what'd you say, mandate, as of Sunday. I don't know if you read the article or not, but, I hate to keep switching areas, but everybody should have one of these in their packet. And what I would like to do is, once Mayor Brady gets his, we'd like to post both Marion County and Grundy counties. And that's what we're trying to do as well. As you see, they're not mandating, but they're requesting some things, but the mandates that they're following is the ones that the governor puts in place. Does that make any sense? The state of Tennessee. So, and of course, Michelle can get a copy of this. It's to be put online. It's Marion County elected officials encourage the following of all safety precautions in the effort to stop the spread of COVID-19. So, and they sort of switched tracks today since all this happened yesterday. But we will have more information in the next week that we can talk about. So, I'm hoping though that we can get those cardboard containers for the temporary fix and more recycling efforts. Now, the one thing we did do, and John, since you're over utilities at large, even though vendors go, well, you always have been, is that we have said no more building materials, period, right? And the guys are making sure that it happens, because for some reason, sometimes people like try to get those in, and they're not supposed to be there anyhow. And then, you know, we can discuss how we handle any other entities that go out there. So, yeah, but they're gonna be stopping that, but the signage say that, and we're actually gonna have signage that now says, stop here, you know, read the signs before you go in, because this is what has to happen. And it's gonna be a little more noticeable, not just right there in the corner, but also as you pull into the front. you know, venue.
Well, it needs to be somewhere than right there, because most people are trying to get off the road and get into the driveway, and they're not gonna stop right there and read those signs.
Well, you came out that day, were you out there that day? No, Butler was, and then just, you were out there the day that we actually, you were back to our, but yeah, that Franklin County met with us, and so we're gonna put a sign, since they pull in from the road to where they can actually see it before they get to any container.
Okay.
You know, and instead of it being painted on there, we're gonna actually have signs that say metal, you know, they'll have their own cardboard, and then we'll have what goes in the other containers, and then household garbage, because really, I think that's what we're supposed to be getting out there. The signs we do are on recycling metal, because we pay for that.
Where they gonna put them?
Well, that's something they'll have to get with John and Butler to make sure they're in locations that are convenient for people to stop and not, you know, have a traffic jam and stuff.
But at the same time, Richmond's gotta be able to tell what's going on. We gotta make it easy on those.
Well, Ricky showed them, that's why I'm saying with John and Butler, and Rick and Mr. Smith, they actually discussed different locations they could put them to where they could watch them.
Right.
And if worst comes to worst, you know, we can always have a camera back up and put it to, you know. I mean, I hate to do it, but it's a lot cheaper, you can buy those things, you know, if Jack didn't want to enforce something.
For the short term, Franklin County had told us we could, recycle there, but we can't put household garbage.
Right.
And we went today, our family, and, they didn't give us any problem about the recycling.
So anything can go that's recyclable,
Right.
but no household trash can go to Swanee. So we do have that too, if somebody wants to take care of their immediate needs of cardboard, or right now, to take it home to, and I think the only requirement with them is the box has to be broken down. So,
Which will be the same size.
yeah. So we'll get it as quickly as we can, and we also will reduce the liability because we will have no liability on the county. So. That's everything from Mr. Thomas.
I don't know if you know, I told you earlier, we have more things in state. Well, after more things, they're wrapped.
Yeah, well, we knew we did, if there was a tank that had troubles for a long time.
Well, this year, underneath,
And it-
the whole wall. I don't know whether that seat looks right up, what's the rest of it?
Well, I mean, as soon as they get the report, it will review.
Well, like I say, we keep that here.
And it's something that's mandated, we don't have to do to be in compliance, but what I'm, well, and the only thing about, there was $9 million yesterday, I think it was $9 million related from, the government on different programs, so maybe there'll be some kind of income for infrastructure, is what I'm hoping for. And if we're in a position where we can apply for it, then we can go ahead, because we'll need it on the Grundy County side for sure, for water needs. Even though it may not be Grundy County property, because we service so many customers in Grundy County, then that'll work to our advantage. So, do you have anything else?
Any idea how long it takes it to report back?
No, Dory, I didn't get to talk to him much, cause that's right after the surgery and stuff. He called me a couple of times, but he said if he actually showed me the picture, I went to the shop that morning. He said if you run into anything major on, real major on the water tank, you can call me. And I never hear nothing from him. He said he never called him, so I don't know how long.
You ever figure out how that water tank works?
Looking up there. Probably 37, but 68, so,
Long time.
well, they built the lake up there. I think they built the lake about 68. And they were going to put out there, our bank, built those on, we built it.
You're a lot older than I am.
Not a lot. I'm not a lot.
Not a lot.
Deb, do you want to, anything numbers, I mean, you know, we were gonna rotate people in and out, just to the point where if we needed to, but if he needs to go, I don't think, if they do, they can contact us on Facebook, because you're still live. So, and that's the only one we have out there, right, is Jack. Well, tell him, if he must have been there. Thank you, John, we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, Jack, you need to go ahead and go, because I don't think anybody else is coming. There might be next week when we have to monitor, let people come in and out, but there's no sense staying. We're going to be going on too, but we've got our numbers, we're not over. Thank you. Same to you. Okay, so we've dealt with that. Yeah, I've got, I think Jessica, you had this as far as trash cans up for Little Lake.
I was approached by, some of the residents of Laurel Lake, and they wanted to know if the city could put trash cans down at Laurel Lake where people fish, get on their boats, and there's a lot of trash. And, found out that trash cans can be put there by the city, but they're not gonna be maintained by the city. And so, with the risk that they would overflow and be a bigger mess than some of the trash that's there now, plus the fact that animals may get into it and scatter trash, I think, the people that were interested in trash cans don't want the trash cans anymore.
Well, the thing is, right now with staff, you know, in particular, and two, there has been, not that many, but there has been bear sightings in this area before, and they're becoming more. So if we do go to that point, we do something like this, we have volunteers to do it, we probably need to get the ones like they use, the bears can't get in, you know, because it's not just a typical can. And there's been, I know a couple of times that bears have been sighted out there before. I don't know if y'all seen them since y'all been out there, but I know I looked up there, it was out there 2 times. So we'll put that up through the summer and maybe we give volunteers. What about the Boy Scouts, I wonder, this summer, just, I'm serious, you know, if you could give a contribution to get them to check, do they have different community projects they could do maybe during the summer, and we could make a contribution to them?
We do, it's, make it, right now, they don't do anything that's regular, so they'll have a project that they'll do from start to finish, but to have something regular to say, oh, we're gonna check the cans every month, well, we could talk about
Or
that.
once a week in the summer when
Once a
it's
week,
busy,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying, and we can make a contribution to them, to a community event, and these volunteers might want to contribute just to this, you know, and like we do the Christmas gifts, people do gifts, because some people wanna help, and we could probably do something like that, can't we, guess? So, but I mean.
I can bring it up, I'll bring it up.
Just mention it, since you're trying to combine them, you know.
Well, you also have to remember that CI and I donated that land by the lake for a park.
Yeah.
A long time ago, so.
That's something we were working on before too, but right now, that might be something that there may be funding for it, we could set it up and get, you know, volunteers to help maintain it.
How much property? I don't know about this property.
It happens maybe 10 years ago. Several acres.
There's a deed. Yeah, there's a deed, but it's longer than 10 years ago.
Is that once together?
Yeah, it's been longer than 10 years.
But it's on the lake?
It's 5, because it was before you and Richard did yours, right? That-
It's on this side, it's on the
property.
roadside.
Yeah, so, but we'd have to find the deed, but it's been quite some time, that was something else in the project that we'll have to proceed with.
That'd be fun to have a park out there.
It'd be fun, because actually we were going to do a fishing tournament, well, we did one fishing tournament. And if we could do something like that occasionally out there, you know, it'd be good for the kids too.
Yeah, we
More
had the scouts out there fishing last spring.
Well, one year we had actually a fishing rodeo that the TRA did. They did one like they do at the lake in Tracy. It's just smaller. They scheduled it out here for the kids. Anybody could go fishing in the area. So maybe we can work on that too.
It'd be good.
All right, I guess we've covered most of this. The fire department, chief is not here tonight. He had a family commitment, we just found out. And the 911 director is not here tonight because they are being tested for COVID too. So we don't have them, and we probably don't want him here tonight because of that. Yes, I'm gonna get back to you in just a second. I'm gonna go ahead and go, I think you all have this. I'm gonna go ahead and we're just going to, Michelle, I'll probably get you the screenshot of this too for
Okay.
Facebook. As you know, on December the 28th, we did meet with the attorney, is that correct? I'm just informing people. And of course, we did find out there was a challenge in the makeup of the planning commission board. So what we've done, at this point in time, we're back to 5 members. The recommendation of the attorney was, and again, I'm making recommendations, this is just information. So that the board appoint the appointed member, which is Doreen Farley, who has to be on the planning commission. In January, on January the 5th, we will have board meetings. So we'll have 5 members. We do have an ordinance, which it will be read on December the 28th to go from the 5 members to 7. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you all were at that meeting as well.
Yep.
And so, and then we will have a special call meeting to, of course, that will be the second reading of that to go from 5 to 7. So the appointment of 7 members will be valid and everything is legal by the February Planning Commission meeting. We also do have an ordinance where we will be considering the adoption of the 2021 zoning ordinance. I'm reading here what he's got. The first reading, we will adopt the revision of the map with an announcement of a public hearing on the 25th. All but the dead zone. And we all know the dead zone fact is the piece of property is in question that the judge will determine that we do not own the 15th. So we're asking that out of the map. Let's see, all this has been advertised. You advertised all the meetings, correct? And we will, of course, be putting this on Facebook as well. And then we will conduct a public hearing, it says on January the 25th, which will be for the 2021 zoning ordinance, considering the ordinance adoption of the 2021 zoning ordinance on the first reading, conduct the public hearing on the revised map, which when we say revised, we're going back to the 2016 map off of the dead zone, correct? And I'm just asking y'all to agree. If I'm making an error in what I'm reading here, please correct me. And then we will also be appointing the same thing with the planning commission. We will do an ordinance to go from 5 members to 7, which we will appoint at the meeting once that we have that board again. I'll give you the recommendations of the names I have, and if that's what you want to do, then we can go with that. So, we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meetings scheduled between now and the 1st of February. So I'll get you a copy of this so you can see it, because it sounds convoluted, but it's really not. If y'all want to add anything to that as far as information or anything we need to know for next week.
Well, I want to talk about the zoning ordinance. You know, you and I talked about that. I'm not going to bring it up now, but I don't know when you want me to bring that up.
I'd go ahead and bring it up just for your, and I do think signage, because if we're gonna do that before it's ever read, I'd like to make that change. I mean, and this is just for information, because Nate brought up a good point, and then what we're talking about, you know, where the one had the amendment to the 300, was it 300 feet, that everybody get a certified way? Well, we were gonna pull that out according to this ordinance, but Nate did have a good point in just talking that we need something to hold us to that everybody knows. We're gonna be doing public announcements, we're gonna be doing FaceTime, we're gonna be doing it on websites, we're gonna be doing it now. But how do we do it? And just what was your thoughts about that?
So, just so everybody's clear, in the 2018 zoning ordinance that we are in the process of repassing, one of the things that the former planning commission had added to it was a requirement that required notification to all property owners within 300 feet of a proposed zoning change. And our attorney recommended that we remove that because it wasn't required by law. And
I felt a little uncomfortable with that because I think particularly given where we are in the town right now and what's happened, we probably owe a duty to our community members that maybe goes beyond what the minimums of the law. And so I told Marilyn that I was not comfortable removing that, but I understand why the attorney asked us to remove it. He said it's an undue burden that is not required by law, and you create another opportunity to mess up when you're trying to do a rezoning. So that was his rationale, and that makes sense to me. But I wanted to see what other options might be available. So actually, I did some research. I actually found that the American Planning Association, so the national body that recommends how planning and zoning is done, they recommend this 300-foot notification. And 14 states require it by law. Tennessee is just not one that happens to require it by law. So I still think it's a good thing. I think that there are other opportunities. So the other one that I've seen that works really well, that makes sure all the landowners get notification, is to require that the owner post signage saying that there's a pending zoning change, and that signage has to be up for a minimum of 15 days prior to any public hearing or zoning change. So anybody driving by there will know that that property has the potential to be rezoned. That's also recommended by the American Planning Association. And I think if I didn't bring my notes with me, but I believe there are like 26 states that require it by law. Tennessee is not one of them. So I would like, and the reason, Maryland did a good job of laying out over the next 5 meetings, the attorney has set out a process whereby we can have a new zoning ordinance and a new old zoning map that'll be legal and one that we can start to work from. And so I want that process to move forward. But as it is now, I'm not comfortable supporting a zoning ordinance that doesn't have some enhanced notification to landowners. And I don't want to be the person who brings it up after the planning commission has already recommended for us to approve it and say, I don't want to approve it. So I wanted to bring it up now because I wanted to get everybody else's sort of opinion on how we might go about this. I just feel like, particularly where we are right now, we owe it to our community members to make sure that they have that notification. The 300-foot rule is one way. And I did some reading, so that 300-foot rule can be done a couple of different ways. You can do it with certified letters, which seems really onerous, and that's what I had thought. You could also do it by first-class mail. So there are other ways to satisfy it that may be less onerous. Like I said, because it's recommended best practice, there are lots of different ways to skin it. And the signage is another one. Typically, the way the signage works is that the landowner who is petitioning for the zoning change has to purchase the sign and has to post the sign, and we simply have to verify that the signage is up. I used to live in a town where they had to post signage, and I thought it was really helpful because it helped you know that something was going to happen, and it gave you the opportunity to weigh in, even probably better than the letter.
That's right. I mean, just thinking about the signage, we all know people notice signs where people don't always get their mail. I mean, let's just face it, and the mail's not been the most dependable unless it was certified. I mean, not being critical, but this is truthful, recently. And so I think, well, here's an idea, and y'all tell me what you think about it. I could get another ordinance, and this is not making a decision. I can just call the attorney and say, would you create an ordinance to where we have to have the signage put up, and we have both of them to look at and decide which one we want, unless y'all want to do letters. I mean, it can do 2 different ordinances, and we can decide which one we want to approve. It doesn't matter. I agree. I think the signage would be probably the best, and it has to be a sign somebody can see, not.
Yeah, so the sign said this is currently zoned this, it's going to be zoned this, there will be a public hearing on this date at this time to talk about this property. So, it
And
really
it has
does
to be put in a place that it's visible, not just.
Prominent
posted.
road frontage.
Right, it must be put there. That way people going by will notice sign. We all do.
Well, this is a town where a lot of out-of-towners own property that could be next to an important zoning change. They may not see a sign, and they wouldn't know there was an issue until they got their letter.
Well, the thing is, could we do the signage as far as a mandate and then just mail a letter? as a courtesy thing.
Yeah, and I think that that's what the attorney said, we're gonna,
Yeah.
we
We're going
should
to
mail the
mail it
letters
anyway, but
either.
if we make the mandate, here's the problem that he had, and I think what he said, if one thing is messed up, then we could be in this mess right now we're in, and we don't ever wanna put the town in that situation before human. So, but if this is mandatory in the ordinance, and then we do a courtesy letter to landowners, then that's a courtesy, it's going beyond that, but it's not a requirement.
And yeah, if we weren't in the
Yeah.
situation that we were in now, I would likely agree with the attorney, wouldn't think twice about
But
it.
the signage makes sense. I mean, really, the signage does make sense, and the courtesy letter. The signage they would have to do is only if we don't do anything, period. It's not.
It's also not required by Tennessee law, so the
Yeah,
attorney's
but
probably
still-
gonna recommend that we not do it too,
Well,
and
but
it's
still,
creating another
that's
requirement.
their call, but then a courtesy letter could be added to it, because I don't think he would do it in the ordinance, but if we want to do the letter, it will be a courtesy letter, but not required.
This is a rezoning issue for any new business coming in or anything that we have to go back and fix.
Just to change the map,
Just to change
just to
the
change the
map.
map. And so what we're gonna do with the map is we're gonna go back to the old map, except for that property that was zone R3 that got changed to C3 that is the subject of the lawsuit. So it'll be the old map with that part sort of Xed out, because nobody wants to deal with that. And so going forward, if there are any proposed changes to that map, they would require the signage.
And then we can also send out a courtesy letter. But it says courtesy in case that you missed out one person or not logged into the era. That, you know,
And in a way, we're kind of jumping the gun, because really the planning commission should be talking about this and then recommending it to us. But I just didn't want to get in a situation where I slowed everything down by being a hitch and to get along.
well, but the ordinance we have to pass, they can't, they can just make a recommendation, so they can discuss it, but this is
Yeah.
something we're going to deal with. And like you said, the burden's on us now, you know, to fix this, and if we know, you know, we can send these both ordinances back to them. Because, well, he's wanting us to read it at the meeting, so technically, we'll have to make the first decision, because right now we're playing catch up. And then we're not doing it in a hurry, we're 6 business months.
Well, so at the meeting on the 5th is when they would recommend the zoning change. So we would have to get, in order for me to support it, and, you know, if it's only, and it doesn't sound like it's just a me issue. I think everybody sort of
No, I
agrees
agree
that-
with you,
yeah.
it made sense, you know, whenever we were just talking back and forward. Yes, I think that, I don't care to notify the people, but if that's 40 people, you know, that have property around it, and we leave one person out, then we messed up if it's a mandate. Now, courtesy letter, the signage by the property owner is, in a visible road frontage, is something that somebody has to do that, you know, we're following the others.
Well, it puts an onus on us, because we'll have to document it. So,
Yeah.
you know, somebody will have to go out, whether that's Earl or whoever, have to go out and take a picture that's dated and say, okay, this sign was put up on this day. So in order for us to dot our i's and cross our t's,
Yeah.
it's still gonna put an onus on us, but I feel like that's the least probably we can do.
It's the simplest way of handling it, and it's also committing everybody to a change. So, I mean, what we can do is if you want to, and again, we're not making a decision, just write down your thoughts, and I can ask the attorney to do another ordinance, and we're not making a decision, we'll have several options to give to the planning commission. But it holds us more accountable as far as this council and the planning commission. If we want to have options for the ordinances. I mean, we have the planning commission chair, she can be a chair. I mean, honestly, that's not gonna change, it's just about members, just.
I'm gonna go, you know, with what Nate's saying. I mean, it's because of our situation, I think due diligence is important.
And it doesn't lock us into 30 certified letters, that's what
No.
we're saying. It does, it commits us, it commits the little property owner, it's visibility, but it doesn't commit us to that big of an error. What do you think, Deb? You haven't come to the office there, I mean, I'm just saying.
The sign's a good idea.
Yeah, so we'll get another, you want,
I looked up the American Planning Association best practices, and there's actually a summary report that the Tennessee State Legislature did in 2015, which is what sent me to the APA document. But I can I can see what their language is, and I'll just email it to everybody.
Yeah, and then when you do, I'll just forward it on to the attorney, to Garrett, and to Garrett, and then we can get two ordinances. We'll have the one he's created and ask him to add this one to it in that way. You know what I'm saying?
And so what we're talking about is in letting the planning commission look at the two options and tell us which option
Yeah.
they like best.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then they'll make a recommendation.
Okay.
Because it'll come back to us and we can say, no, we want to go the other one. I mean, technically,
It
you know, we
could,
can,
yeah.
and I don't think that's gonna happen. I think everybody's gonna be in agreement, that they'll understand why we're going that process. And, yeah, I mean, we can do this as a workshop. Will, you're here? You happen to be in a situation that this happened to? I mean, as far as what's called now the dead zone? What do you think about the signage?
I really think
Oh, okay,
Okay,
all
all
right.
right.
Well, I didn't know why you couldn't comment. I'm just saying as the neighborhood,
I'm glad you're discussing it.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're discussing it. Sounds like some people are doing their own.
well, we're trying to, but we're trying to also hope that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So since you can't discuss it, I don't know why, but anyhow, I just wanted to see if you could. We were trying to get input from the neighborhood person, but, okay, thank you though.
Right.
So, all right. Before we go inside, can we see what Karen needs?
Sure.
Karen, do you wanna come up and we'll see what you need, and then, so we don't hold you here all night either, and then we'll try not to stay all night.
She's giggling.
She is. Yes, if you don't mind, please.
I've just come to request that the council consider purchasing a copy machine for the library. My copy machine is falling apart. I can only make one copy, you got to turn it off, turn it back on, make another copy, turn it off, turn it on, turn it on. I've had someone over to look at it, and they cannot fix it, it doesn't have, you can't buy parts in the, for it. And I talked with a, man from Beaver, which is where we got the copy machine that we have now. And they have one available that's right around $900. This one was purchased 5 years ago for $1,500. Because it'll be there, can't get the one before it.
The only thing that I was asking, are you still part of the county board, or who's your board now? How does that work?
We have, the Greater County Library Board.
Are they aware of the problem?
Yes.
What did they, I mean, were they willing to contribute any, or did they ask for money to do it all? That's what I'm saying. How do they usually handle their other communities in the city?
Well, each city is different, and, sometimes, most of the libraries in Greater County can't afford to buy things, so it is. I can contribute some, but
When you say you can, is that your board?
no, because we have the funds for that, the other libraries don't have the funds for that.
Okay, so you do have.
But I do have some funds that, with things where I have raised money for, a program, where I get money for copies, we call it 10 cent copies. And that covers our paper. If we have this if we get this copy machine, it would have a monthly fee, which I would pay, which runs usually $25 to $35, which would cover any problems that we have.
You did charge, so that it would reverse it. The only thing I just asked if there was no budget for anything additional, because explain how we do this to the members that don't know as far as what we pay.
Well, for the library, it really only pays for salary, and we only do it when we pay the utilities.
So
But as
that's,
far as anything else, there's nothing.
There's no supply money coming
There's
anywhere,
nothing.
there's no extra money for programming, there's no, we strictly, you're providing a building, electricity, and my salary.
well, that's what I'm saying, just so that we know that that's what we're contributing as far as money, because a lot of times people don't know what money does contribute, so we're
And
aware
the
of that.
Grundy County Library Board doesn't have any money,
There's a state entity,
and we're under, Stones River region is our region now.
okay, it's changed from.
Yeah, we have 9 regions now instead of 12.
Oh, okay.
I think that, what you do with your fax machine, it's a service for people that can't afford to have their own equipment at home. It's a valuable service that they provide.
Yeah, we do copy, fax, print, and scan.
And you also provide free internet, right? Within the community, that's what I'm
Free
just saying.
Wi-Fi,
Free
and
Wi-
the
that's
library
what I'm
pays
saying.
for all of that.
There is, that we provide, so.
The library pays
Where
for
would
that
it come-
internet.
Where would it come from if you did it from just, I mean, it's talking about line item.
I'm gonna ask a question question that I have no idea about. So, I just took $1,500, which you paid for the last one, and divided it by 60 months, 5 years, and I came up with $25 a month. Do we have any idea how much a lease costs? Because I know a lot of places will lease these copiers.
I don't know, I haven't checked on that.
I
The
think
one that we have now was purchased by the city, but I paid the maintenance fee on it.
But I know we bought it straight out, that's what she's saying, because then it comes a little different.
We have one at the police department that we lease and it's $100 a month.
Ow! Okay, that answers that question.
And it might be a different machine, but is that with your toner and everything included?
They come and fix it, they bring me toner,
That's your maintenance fee.
that's the maintenance fee covers that, which is what I paid before. And it ran me $25 to $35 a month.
Okay, so you were paying $65 a month if we take the cost of the copier.
Yeah. And she split it with us, so you're saying, would it be cheaper for us to do our part in rental, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I'm
I
wondering,
mean-
because then you'd get a new one
Yeah,
you'd get a new one every couple of years. And
Yeah, I don't know
so,
how that works, I could check that out.
You want to continue to find out and let us know, and then we can, but you're saying about $1,000 is what it would cost for
Just
you
to flat out buy it,
Well,
and
that's-
then I would pay the maintenance fee.
Well, and then,
Yeah.
but even if you paid the maintenance fee, if we were to lease one for you, you're saying that it would be taken care of as far as maintenance.
we never had to buy one again, because
Right.
they would
They would
change
keep
it out.
doing it, so do you care to check on that?
No,
and see
I
if we
don't,
can do it?
I didn't know that they would do something like that, so I don't
Well, I'm
mind
sure they will,
checking on
because
it.
you got, didn't you get the contract with the police department?
That's like Aces and Manchester.
You want, you know, get together and see what I could get one for you, to lease it, and then
Yeah.
we could maybe even know by next week, since what it's costing right now. Yeah.
I know the university leases all of theirs. I can go take a picture of who owns theirs. I don't know who is right off owns theirs, but obviously they've got a lot of them.
They got a lot, their prices are a lot better, but you are right, because I used to lease one when I had the office down there, it was a lot easier. I just think maintenance being up a bit, really minimal amount to improve growth, they brought me a new one.
Yeah. I'm not usually a lease fan, but for something that goes obsolete so fast,
Yeah.
it may make sense.
And we do lots of copying. Yeah,
But you do charge a minimum for that, right?
I charge 10 cents for copy, 25 cents up to $1. Hello. $1 for the first page for a fax, 25 cents for
Well,
the
it's
page
just
after
one,
that.
yeah.
It's not even, not that much. And
And,
if it's local, I don't even charge for fax.
well, that makes sense. as far as
Local,
that
1-800 number, I'll charge for it.
Yeah, it's just, I'm just saying that way you do cover part of your maintenance to where you're not out.
Yeah, and paper and.
It's a very important service,
I think it is too, yeah. So we're not saying we're not going to do it, but what's the best way to do it?
Yeah.
And if we have to purchase it out of, we need to come out of some line item, you know, that we didn't have prepared, but. Question for you though. I know that, now there's a 10-person in public space. How are you handling that? Do you have, since,
It's not usually a problem, and we've not had it happen, but just a very few times that I've had more than 10 people come in. Usually it's when somebody comes in with 5 children and somebody else comes in with 3 children, and here we are.
well, do you have masks and do you have hand sanitizer? Do you?
Yes.
You do
There's,
have
when you
that?
walk in the door, there's hand sanitizer there for everyone to use, and I encourage everyone to use it. I have a sign that says masks are very welcome. I have
Well, yeah.
not required
Well, I
them.
don't think we really can legal, and that's what Marion County was telling me, but we do, if we do ask them to wear them, we need to provide them since it's their building, is
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
That's something else I can't provide because I can't afford that.
Well, then we could get you some masks if it's their building, then with that,
We
I
have
think
one.
that we can get you some masks, and then if you need some more, because we can supply some.
I've been purchasing hand sanitizer all along, and why, because I like the computers after everybody touches them, and I keep people 6 feet apart on those.
Well, if you need some hand sanitizer, let us know, we can do that.
I need some hand sanitizer. I'm about to run out.
And before they start, that way we can emphasize with that stuff, because we want to make sure we're taking it off.
Yes. I use a lot of wipes and a lot of hand sanitizer.
Sure you do. Which, I mean, we're having, you do it with that. Yeah. You'll check and let us know. We are planning on meeting on the 28th. If you want to get the information to Deb, if you don't want to be here, we'll be doing Facebook Live again.
Okay.
Well, we're planning on meeting on the 28th. Nothing changes. So,
Change changes daily, doesn't it?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
So when will we, just because I'm new, when will we be looking at the 2021 budget?
Well, we've gotta have it ready by July, so we can start,
Or we won't start till April.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm used to, so we start January.
well, I mean, we probably can
Yeah,
start
I hate
looking
them
at
crazy
it,
days.
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying, to technically, to actually sit down on concrete things and what's up, what I'm funded, we can start looking at it in months in January, but we have to have it done by July 1. I don't know, when does the university have their third, should they do all one too?
Yeah, but the budget process usually starts in late December.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, we can look, but we really don't know yet like we do, yeah, where we're at. But,
But I'm just thinking, if we're talking about a capital purchase, you know, that's something that we can be thinking about, you know, particularly if we've got, you know, water plant issues.
Capital purchase to us, that's $35,000.
Well, we doesn't sound like we have a budget line.
but
item
we
for
don't
that.
have anything for
Yeah.
that, because that's, well, for lack of a better term, that's a program of support.
Mhm.
Like we support the dump or the convenience center, because Grundy County pays a portion, Marion County pays a portion, and we pay a portion. That's the three entities that pay, so that's so in effort for this. We help support with what we said a while ago, and then your
And-
board,
The Grundy County and the Marion County, lottery board, well, the Marion County and Grundy County share, between them.
and so they did.
And
What
that's
does
it.
Marion County do?
I'm sorry?
Does Marion County do?
Yeah, they provide 7 hours, and Marion and Grundy County provide 7 hours.
Okay,
And
so,
y'all provide 26 hours.
And so we do have a budget line item for the library that
Yes.
includes 26 hours a week,
plus utilities.
plus utilities, but that's it right now, there's no
Right
other
now.
support. Yeah, that's kind of why I was asking,
Yeah.
so, you know, is there an opportunity? If,
Well, yes, we can add to that line. Just to answer your question, we can. We just didn't know.
yeah, right,
All right, okay. You go just find out for us, so we'll figure out the best way to get you a copy.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
No,
Christmas to
thank
you.
you.
Christmas, Karen. Okay.
Ho, ho, ho.
This,
Anyone else have anything?
What is this? Isn't that
Yeah.
beautiful?
so there were two different proposals in there that I had not seen. There's one from Ivan Michelle, and there's another one from,
Oh,
and I've been
yes.
trying to read and pay attention at the same time, and I'm not that smart.
Well, I have to sell this one too, so this is for 20 hours of communication support, social media announcements, email announcements, website updates, community engagement monitoring and issue, Facebook live specials, extra services available, cost $25 per hour, press releases, media engagements, conflict resolution, moderation, town hall moderation, and tourism representation in parks. So, is that monthly, Michelle?
Yes.
So,
I know one of the biggest things of your campaign was transparency. And I know the other council wanted to make sure that there is a vehicle that there's a back and forth with our citizens. And that there's a way that we can reach out via email, that we can keep them posted, that we have a consistent message and a communication with our citizens. And so like if an issue, like a lot of things happen on social media, Nate's not even on Facebook.
Thank God.
no, but Jess is, so if we did something, this, you know, this is one of the things we all did say, transparency is 20 hours a week. And if you would
20 hours
take over
20 hours a month.
a month, I'm sorry, let's see what it is, but the thing is, you would do the updates on the website once
Yeah.
the website's changed.
Yeah.
And so,
Like
that
anything
is,
that you guys are going to be doing needs to be out in the public. I mean, really, bottom line, because something can go south like that, and someone's like a dog in a bone, and you guys are the devil. You
well,
know?
we're not gonna be that sometimes.
But yeah, you have to create like a Google group, and so that all the council sees the different messages. Here's our concerns from the citizens. How do you want to reply? You know, just a back and forth. So
Where's the other one, Nate? 'Cause
Running Mate Consulting LLC.
Oh, where's that one at? Oh, yeah, what that is, and of course, that was for information only, I had forgotten.
They just totally stepped over you, didn't they?
That's okay.
I'm used to it.
I heard that the first meeting, there were 1,000.
Yeah, there
views.
Was it 987, and there were 400 and something that watched it, whatever that, they did it.
Incredible.
I mean, that was more than people that voted, which is fine.
That was just people making fun of us.
But this is something, and they're gonna be making fun of us afterwards, so we get used to that, that's part of it. But, of course, I didn't get here till 6 myself, I might have a problem out. But this is something we can look at, decide if we want to vote on it in the meeting, you've got time to look at this. Like maintenance, and I don't have it with me, but if somebody wants to, I'm gonna have to start tagging my stuff. since
So if you
there's
looked
so
at
much.
this, is this unsolicited then?
It
Are both of
was
these
there,
unsolicited?
No, mine was not unsolicited.
no. So this one is something we do need to decide, and if we want to look at this, I mean, we don't decide tonight, we're talking about it, if we want to do it. This one with Jack was sent to Doreen and myself, and Doreen, did you get a chance to look over it?
I did.
If we do need any Myers-Briggs, I think probably every one of us is probably going to do that at one point in time in our careers in our life. Diverse training, leadership training, development. I will say this, and Mayor Brady's going to call me in the morning because he's going to have his pandemic plan for Grundy County, and I will get it to you all when he gets it to me, but he had nothing in writing tonight. But he did tell me there is something he's doing on the Grundy County side. Now, he did this, so he can correct me if he wants to. I told him we would go in Facebook Live, that there is some grant money for some type of development, but he didn't tell me for sure planning. And it was only going to cost $500 through Grundy County if we used who they use. But again, he did not go into details. He was planning on being here tonight and letting me know more about it. He did not come. But Jack's done a lot of this stuff, it looks like, for different people, if we need that expertise. I don't know that we're quite ready to start team building and designing it.
Yeah, this is more team building,
Yeah.
and I'm more interested in planning.
Well, the planning, me too, that's what I said. You know, occasionally we do need people to work together. We need to try to all get along.
True.
You know, and love each other if we can, or at least like each other in the community. No, honestly, it's the same. But the
No,
point being, and this would be valuable at that, that's what I saw, that it's more personality, it's more development, team building, which that might be later in, as we grow and work together, like any relationship, you know. But, with this is something, you know, we're going to have to start looking at immediately as far as how we become stronger communication.
I think the fact that there were 1,000 viewings on Facebook, it tells us that the public wants to know what's going on.
Well, and see, there was no charge. They do see charges, GCTV 6 charges, and Michelle's independent here, she's doing this on her own.
Today is independent.
She's not doing it for them. They are paid for recording, providing us with a DVD and putting it on TV. Not for their Facebook. They will share it with their Facebook, you know what I'm saying, but then they pull it whenever they pull it. This is something that we would do independently. We would do through the town, setting that up, having that information available, as well as the other ones. And Nate, you did mention this, and I have not talked to anyone about it, because you and I did, because we did have a computer person up here today looking at the email, but they do more support of the computers. I think they have been maintaining the website, but they've been around since they told me the punch card in computer programming, and that's even beyond me. I'm just like, dude, you know, I don't even remember those days. But is that if we did have the width or stuff, you know, as far as going through that we can maintain that, and it can connect with Google and something, and we have somebody to do that.
Well, one of the things was email, I know was brought up during your campaigns, is that not everybody does Facebook. Not everybody does, you know, social media. So you need to have a separate entity of a communication with email. I've already had that set up with Monteagle Community News. It's just expanding it and making it more user-friendly for all of the citizens.
I'm okay with this. I say let's wait till we get all this other mess before we
Well, we
even
don't-
look at this.
Are you talking about Jack?
Yeah.
Well, see, he just gave it to us, and I was the same way, but I think it's important to know we have somebody in the community to do it. But, I think that we're at this point, that needs to go later, I agree with Nate, because here's the thing, and, you know, I'm gonna leave those down there until we change them, unless, when we're back to start cleaning the floor. You know, if we have a plan and a vision for this town, then we can move forward. And I personally regret that we did not rezone the corridor years ago, but it wasn't something we thought about. We thought we'd have a plan, and here's what's gonna be implemented, and that didn't happen. Because we wouldn't be having some of the discussions today if that had been done, or if this plan had been followed. But ifs and buts are not where we're at today. And I'm not trying to find fault, I'm just saying that's where we're at. So let's see how we move forward and make it better from this point on. And I agree with you. Again, I'm saying this with hesitation because it's for information. And I think we do a workshop. I'm going to see the design side of the house, the communication, the building funds, but we've got to make sure we get a strong infrastructure. We know that the water's going to have to be worked out, but I'm hoping we're going to be in a position that we can actually, with quite a bit of money, have to go relocate, you know. So, and also, the fire chief did mention to me that there's some grant money that should be received from Grundy County. He wasn't clear on it, was he, Jeff? When he called, I asked him for something in writing. I was able to put that in writing so I can pursue that. It's a small amount, every amount is important, you know. I did also ask him this. At one point in time, we had a company, do you remember the name of that company out of Alabama that you got fire trucks from? No, but there was a company in Alabama that fire trucks would be purchased for them, and what they would do, and I said, can you check into this for me again? Any interstate wrecks, any wrecks we had, they would actually bill for us and take a small percentage. They would collect the money, if you went to court, they dealt with all the legal fees. We didn't have to deal with it. There was quite a bit of money coming in. Then, the other thing they did, that they brought to our attention, was if, have house insurance, if they go into house calls, they bill that, and there's a minimum amount in most house insurance policies, most of us have house insurance. It's either $100 or up to $300, according to the house, that the fire department can be paid. So I told him I wouldn't sit down with him and make sure we're pursuing that, and even if we have to get an outside source that knows, that does this for fire departments, then we can see who's best at doing it, and that way we could collect a lot more money for the fire department. And you may be.
That's what I was asking him about at the last meeting, was who's billing. I was wanting to make sure we were doing
Well,
it in some way.
technically, they're the one that's been doing it, but I said, that may not be the best way for us to do that right now if they're not collecting the money. And again, he's not here, so I'm not going to speak to him. We'll ask him this question next week when he's here. But I think they're doing all their entire billing, but I think there might be a way of doing more billing. That's what they do, you know, and what's giving, well, I'm gonna say 15%, but we're getting 85 across the board on everything.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard without data, and they've had so much turnover. But looking back, it would be interesting to see what percentage of calls get billed versus what percentage of calls go out. You
Well,
know,
we
are
probably can do that though, because they do have the cost that they receive money from, right?
Yeah.
And most of those have been interstate, and as far as I know, they're not getting anything else. Yeah,
So if they're not, if the call to reimbursement ratio is really low, which it sounds like it is, then we probably do need to look into it. Because I think they should be doing that, both with insurance companies and with the interstate.
And we can find out again, actually, we'll find out tomorrow I'll find out before the meeting, what the name of the company was that we used to use years ago that actually did this billing. All they had to do is send their reports to them with the information. They had to get, you know, whether it be a car or a truck or a house, they got the information, sent it to them, they took care of everything. Even if they did collect and they had to go to court, they took care of the legal fees, and we still got a percentage of it, we got the money. So it worked out real well. And another thing that in this communication proposal, I do know, I'm just saying it's hard, I mean, the truth. And we're not related, I will go I mean, I'm going on record, even though people think we are, I'm just, saying that we're not related by blood, I mean, I've put a lot of people together, but they're not related by blood or any by marriage or anything like that, so. But Michelle has also, she is a fireman, she's a certified firefighter, whether you knew it or not, she did get certified. And she has already talked to Garen about doing a, sort of a fireman, well, we talked about recruitment plan later.
Yeah, we need help in that arena, so yeah, I
She
told my
mentioned
assist.
to, since she's got that record of the fire department in her, that she would help them do a, recruitment program or something, because he was telling her the last time that he started. But he's not here tonight, so I'm not saying they're not doing it, I'm just saying we can recruit them. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, so I appreciate this proposal. I don't think I'm ready for it yet, because I don't think we know enough about what we want. So I would prefer to hold off on this until we make some decisions about what are we gonna do with the website.
Absolutely.
And because that may inform what we do with something like this. So,
Well, that's fine, I mean, because we're just talking tonight anyhow, at least you have it to read and
Yeah.
make decisions on how we develop going forward. So we've got both of this. Is there anything else in here?
I'd like to ask about the minutes. Are these minutes on the website? I haven't looked.
No,
They can't be yet until we approve them.
until they're approved.
They have to be approved before they're actual documents. Once they're approved,
Can we approve them tonight?
No,
we can't do anything tonight. They have to be on the 28th or your next meeting. For the workshop.
Can they be, can they put on the projector next week at the meeting?
Trey's gonna be here with us if, for a little while, he's going hand in hand, he to get her.
Cause that's been one of the things they hear the minutes have been approved, but they don't really know what the minutes said, so it'd be nice to be able to project them.
I mean, unless there's a reason not to, I don't see any reason why the packets that we receive can't just be a PDF that can go up.
Well, they can be. Tonight, what happened though, we just got the stuff in and they just set it up today, and I asked Trey to be here at the workshop, because he's gonna walk us through and be here for some meetings. I asked him, we're gonna be here through what, the end of February?
I mean, just depending on how deep you all wanna go to with your connection. Grundy brought me in on a grant to update them so they could stream quality. You know, if your connection, you can go so far as to putting the documents on the live stream. You know, of course, you will have to upgrade more. It depends on how professional you all want to be coordinating with the citizens. You know, there are programs where you can stream, and as you're streaming, you can have PDFs up there.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking the first step would be just to get them up on the wall.
Yeah. Well, we've got
You
it.
all heard and
Yeah.
seen, this is the first step. for
But
sure.
we'll be doing more virtual probably for a while, and that would keep people that are at home from being able to see what's on the screen, I'm guessing.
Right.
Right?
And checking, you're talking about grants, and that's something awesome to check.
Yeah.
So
Well,
is Grundy
Is
County,
your AV integration, you know, maybe money you have there.
is Grundy County gonna be live streaming all their meetings?
If they want to, they have the ability.
And so they'll live stream them through their website?
They were gonna use it in Facebook, but like I said, they've had the equipment for a month or so now. But, you know, that's a matter of, they really need to see it.
Well, I mean, we didn't wanna get to that point, and tonight, in all fairness, actually, Ray came out today, and he set this up, and I asked him to be here tonight. And I've asked him to walk us through the next month to make sure audio's working, to make sure the projector's working. So really, you got all the equipment in today, didn't you? And actually got it set up, and so that's the reason the projector's not up, you know.
Oh, it's ready. It's
Well,
just
I'm just
missing
saying.
a cocktail table. We're
Yeah.
literally
So,
just
and, I just got
a
him-
table to put it on.
Well, I just got back in and I got him the password to the Microsoft right, so you didn't get that till tonight, and because I didn't know he needed it, you know what I'm saying, but I'm just saying, we're putting this new thing together, but we're gonna make it as transparent as we can from there. Yeah, and we're gonna have to for the next 30 days, because regardless, we're only gonna have 10 people in this room, you know, is what we're doing.
So you have an in-house computer and your computers will all
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why we couldn't have it there or even hang it from the ceiling and just have it broadcast right behind us so, you know, they can see what we're seeing.
Well,
Yeah, you have the light, you'll struggle behind you, but, there.
so could you actually though, could you hang it from the ceiling? Cause I know.
I don't think it's an upside down, you actually have to have,
A
the
tape.
projector
Okay.
has to be protected also. I'm not sure, but a wall mounted projector.
But thank you for being here tonight and getting it set up for us today and tonight, because we didn't have anything today, and they finished this about noon today, just getting this live for us, because we didn't have anything. So, and Janet also volunteers to come up and help herself, or she's your assistant, what she said, so I don't know what y'all got going on, you know what I'm saying, but it was here, you know, getting the stuff too, so. But, so do y'all have anything else tonight for workshop? I will get copies of these to where we can put those online. Because we'll need to put it, tomorrow, we will be getting information from Moretti County on their kind of duty plan. He said it'd be right, but we don't have that yet.
So just while we're talking about communication, everybody, I know everybody's probably getting hungry like I am, but I would be curious to know sort of, it sounds like, is Ron Castle still doing our website, or is no one doing the website?
Yeah, we have someone doing the website, someone's James Bond.
Really?
Well, yeah, he actually is doing it, and his contract for doing the website and coming in and doing different work now, I know through the 911. Well, today, he said he's $500 a month just to come and do that.
Wow.
That's what he told me today, the computers, that's what he said he was going to do today. But he said he was going up, and that's not everything as far as communication. Apparently, he's like retired, and he's like top of the line forever doing this, and I didn't even know this till today.
But he hasn't been keeping our website up to
He said he
date,
was.
but our website hasn't been up to date,
Well,
so.
He only gets what I told him.
Okay.
So, but he did say it's,
Everything I have.
but he even said it was obsolete. Well, we know it's obsolete because when we started 10 years ago, we had one computer. I mean, with the person that was doing that's been gone how many years now? 5. And so we knew it was time to upgrade, but that just didn't happen, you know what I'm saying? So we know it's time to change formats and change things. So.
You do need some creative content.
Yeah,
And that's,
well, and that could be where a proposal comes in. I just think we need to know what that content is so that that proposal has some more legs to it, so.
yeah.
I have no idea what y'all wanna do.
Well,
Yeah, and so it's not your fault, no.
yeah, and the actual video on there though, Michelle actually created that with the Department of Tourism. The video,
No, they did not, no, it was on video.
well, I couldn't remember, there's been so much that was going on during that 6.5 years, that's the actual video that's still on there.
Well, Craig, did I hear from you that there's money available from the government now for that?
County had it.
But now,
And I don't know if county's taking.
I don't know what he,
anything.
I'm going to check with Michael about this fire department grant, because I was told there was a grant issued a couple of months back, and there was supposed to be X amount of funding come to Monteagle, but it wasn't. Now, again, I'm not saying, and I didn't even know this till the latter part of last week, and it's on my 214 checklist things to do, and that's really not up here. Because again, I don't know what really happened.
One other thing that we need to check on him that Jessica Blaylock will be interested in is, we need to have a recreation plan in order to qualify for grants to do things like upgrade the parking.
That's something we need to come up with.
So the county is in the process of doing it, so I think we can join with their rec plan. So Mike, Grundy. So Michael Brady is working on it, he's hired a contractor to work on their rec management plan right now. So it could be something that we can tag along with theirs and get qualified for some of these TDEC grants.
Well, it's not even TDEC, I think there's gonna be a lot that's coming down that's actually need money, but my question to you, so, I'm just asking this, I know you're more involved with sometimes, how are you aware of this grant that's out there? How would you aware of it?
So TDEC has, well, Jessica Blaylock in the last administration was interested in finding a grant to help get new playground equipment.
Right.
And she was going after, and Yeah, it was an LPRF through TDAC, and TDAC has now tied all their grant funding to communities that have a recreational access plan. If you don't have a recreational access plan, you can't even apply for the grant.
Okay.
And so Grundy County has hired a contractor to do a recreation management plan for Grundy County
Well, that's
so
what I'm
that they
saying.
can qualify for the grants.
But what I'm asking is, did you know it was Michael? How did we know that Michael was doing it? How did, that's what I'm.
Southeast Development told me.
Okay, so that comes from Beth then.
Well, Jonathan Connell in that same office is who I talked to.
Okay, so can he send us this information so we can start getting it and really what we need to? I'll just think of Michael.
I think Michael reached out to all the towns.
When did he do it? Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know whether it's too late, but I know he reached out at one point. If
Okay.
we can get in on that train,
No, I'll be
it may have
talking.
left the station, but
Well, hopefully he included Monteagle in it. Hopefully he didn't. Can't see him leaving us out because, even though he didn't have the information, because it's still a portion of it.
There was a survey that,
that's part of
he
that.
had me share to the Monteagle Community News, or I chose to share, so that we could get in on, our people filling that out.
And that's part of the rec plan.
Yeah.
So if Grundy is involved, is Marion involved too?
As far as I know, Marion has not done it. I know Franklin has not done it.
Well, Marion may not qualify because it may have something to do with the county.
No, it's
Well, we'll find out.
TDEC wanting to tie their recreation dollars to a plan.
And you're fine.
So that when I'll check with David, like I said, or Mayor Jackson, he told me today, I'll check with him. Well,
And I don't think there's anything wrong with Monteagle doing their own, but there's no sense of reinventing the wheel if we can tag on to somebody else who's already doing it.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you totally. I just think, this is the way grants work, if they've been working, and that's where we're trying to get prepared for the new ones. And giving it.
I think he said we get 30 points, on any, grant we apply for if we tag along.
Right. So Mountain Goat Trail, we already have a pre-proposal in for RTP for this year. It won't even be looked at because we don't have the rec plan in place. But we'll put it in this year because the way TDEC's setting it up now, you've got to apply this year. And if you don't have a rec plan, you'll get, your proposal will be reviewed next year. And so we went ahead and did it a year in advance.
Isn't that what they told us with the, funds that we just applied for, the application, ARC funds? It'll be 18 months out. That was just a pre-app for the application. Now, CDBG is a little different, for their cycles, that's like 12 months, but still, if you're not prepared for it, you can't even apply.
Right.
Did we make that deadline?
Yeah. We made the deadline because that's just a pre-app. So all he did was talk to John.
So that's the thing. So we put in a pre-app. If we had a recreation plan in place, they would invite us to do a full application this spring. But because none of the counties we work in do, they're gonna wait until next fall to let us even.
So that's the one Michael's working on now.
Yeah, and so the rec plan would help us be able to do that. So particularly if we wanted to do upgrades at Hannaford Park, the local Parks and Recreation Fund is a great opportunity to do that. Well, we get 30 points if we have a rec plan.
That's Marion County.
Yeah, so how the town of Monteagle can play into it, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying, I don't know, that's what I'm thinking, because you asked about Marion County, my only concern would be that's Grundy County money. You know what, I'm just.
Yeah, so we just have to ask the question.
We'll have to find out if we can do that, because this is still, when we cross over, we have to be right, because there's other things that come off it. And this is something else, just to mention that did, and I had totally forgotten about you mentioned it to me. The family, it's sort of like the park family. We don't own that, we only get to use it. The ball field is also, the deed is written to where it must stay a ball field for recreation for kids, or it goes back to the family.
Who is the family?
But it wasn't, it was her. What was her, Emmett, yeah. So, and it must stay that, or it reverts back to the family. And we were talking about this not too long ago, and we did do this a long time ago. I know we talked about different things. There's nothing we can change it.
Well, there are ways to work with the family members, that's the reason I asked who the family was. So
Well,
it,
okay.
it just makes it more complicated.
Yeah.
But if we've got a plan that the family is
Yeah.
on board with, there might still be some opportunities.
Well, there's always opportunities, but I'm just saying right now, that's the way it's currently written because that did come.
Interestingly, I read the zoning ordinance, it's also in violation of zoning.
Probably.
Yes, it
Yeah, because
is.
it's
Yes,
zone
it is.
C3, so it's not appropriate for public park.
Oh,
I read the whole thing too.
We're going back to 2016, we're gonna fix it, we'll post our own stuff there to make sure it's done right for a public park. You know, we just gotta fix it, you know, so that's all we can.
But yeah, it's, I've stickled with the parties out of zoning.
Well, there's other things we know, the other ordinances that we're under compliance with in the middle of the town, so we're just gonna let that go and just start fixing it.
Debbie, would you mind getting me a copy of the deed to the park? Because I went to the Marion County Courthouse and they didn't have it on file. I went and looked for it.
Seriously? Yeah.
The ball fields. So there's two parcels there. There's the ball field parcel and then there's the helipad. And the helipad was on file. You know, we bought that from, Thomas. Yeah.
Probably Betty.
Yeah, Denny Thomas.
Denny,
Yeah, so
Denny
that was on
there.
file, but they didn't have a deed reference even in the registrars, in the tax office for the
Well, they would have,
ball field.
but there is a deed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
because-
it's just a mistake in their records, but
Yeah. Hey, what's not, we're not going to.
I'm sure it's somewhere in the courthouse. It just, it didn't have a quick reference to it.
Well, the state of Tennessee, we've been to 413 before looking for deeds and things, so, and easements, so I'll dig it out for all.
You mentioned that, there's gonna be a gathering for the city employees.
Well, here's what we're gonna do.
Not so much now.
Well, actually, they're gonna do that, but they're gonna come, each department at one time, they're gonna schedule departments just coming in to get something, like finger foods, and then leave, so there won't be no more than 10 in a room at a time. Because the bus that has,
Truck stop.
yeah, and take their food back to their department, since it was already scheduled, so there won't be any more than 10 people in the room. We took care of that this morning, because it was
you
already.
have to laugh at it, you know?
Yeah, but that's how we're
I mean,
gonna do it, if
seriously.
anybody wants to come by, but we'll keep.
It's not gonna be like
No,
that.
no, not
What
like a
part of
dinner or
town do
something,
you
it'll be
start
the
on?
same thing. The bottom of it.
What part of town do you start at?
Well, there
The
would be,
downtown
there
corridor.
never was.
He's trying to get it right.
Remember the
That's mine,
dinner?
that would
It
be
was
mine.
just family and,
Suggestion.
you know what I'm saying?
I would say so
One
too,
year,
and then work hours.
there was something that.
And I
We
think,
used to do that,
I
we
think the
did
ball
open
fields
houses,
are
but
perfect.
we won't be doing any of those for a long time.
we can get that right.
We're over.
The nice thing is the ball fields need some work. You know, they've been there a long time. So if there's an opportunity to do some stuff, it's gonna take some work. It may not happen, but I think it's worth looking into.
Just, I mean, it's not.
Well, that was my idea, wasn't it?
I love your
Finish
idea.
your 6 meetings.
I wanted to sell the ballpark. I wanted to away with the ballpark and move the ballpark down on the other end of town and buy the property down there by the sewer plant that's for sale and have multiple ball fields, have a rec center is what I want to tell you. Soccer fields, basketball court, whatever.
We can't do that now. I don't think.
Would be safer for the kids.
Yeah, but you also have got to check it, of course, it's gonna have to go through the family thing, I'm not gonna say you can't, but I'm gonna say it's a lot of hurdles we have to cross to get there. Right now, and I mean, it could be in the future plans out there, but now, all that property is not ours anymore, so.
It's gonna be a practice
How
field.
much do we have?
Well, no,
We don't have-
I think if we could work out something with the family where the value of that ball field went into new sporting complex, that would be where I think we could make some headway with it, because it's very valuable commercial property.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not a great place for a ball field.
It's not safe.
Right. But, so I'm with you.
Well, that
I
could
just
be,
think it would be
that could
awesome.
be
I don't know
part
which
of the
property you're talking about,
design.
Bill, though.
Like across from Cliff Tops, that property there,
Gene Nixon's property.
you know, from like Dollar General, anywhere.
There's 10
down there.
acres, there's 10 acres
Just
there.
anywhere.
Yeah, but he owns 10 there, that, do you know what they're asking for that property?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that idea out there, you know.
You can always dream.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to dream, but without a vision you perish, so we've got to have a vision, but I ain't said nothing, so.
I don't think there's any trades on any property going on.
What we're saying right now, we're not.
But it was a good idea.
But yeah, if you'll, particularly, I think it's a good idea. It's gonna take some time, it's gonna take some reviewing of the deeds, it's working with an attorney and working with the families, and it's gonna need a real plan, because if I'm that family member, I ain't gonna do anything unless you got
Well,
some real
I mean,
plans to
you know, you
move forward.
planted trees out here, which is great, and it was great at the time, but it blocks 4th of July fireworks now. You know, it's outdated.
But we can always fix things. And I want to say this, we appreciate the Hart family, and we appreciate I'll say Hart family, and we appreciate the usage of land, because without it, money, we wouldn't have had anything. And it's like down here, the Hart Park, it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the Hart family, and it has to be used for certain things, but they've always let us utilize it, I guess, since the beginning of time, So, I mean, that's really, we appreciate the families that do let us use it, but there are certain restrictions that come with that. Not saying later, if it benefited the community, that they may not look at that. But we also have to have a plan together.
Right.
And I think that's gonna go back into our overall plan, because right now, once we go back to 2016, I'll get the dead zone, we've got how many parcels, 32? 34, that's got to be looked at individually and say, are we going to rezone these? Are we rezoning the property to where we are legal? And then once we get through that, then we can.
Yeah, well, I think that's where I'm interested in the planning dollars, because I think if we get our planner right, our planner can help us with that zoning process at the same time.
Well, Chad did say he will come, he's gonna be coming, because we have got, when Chad Reese, of course, I know he's old school, he knows what he's doing, because if money goes down to the point, we're sort of a, unique town, that he's gonna have to, and Chad knows a lot.
So we're going back to the 2016.
Well, if we approve the ordinances, that's what we'll go back to, everything but that is, we're calling the X spot.
Are we gonna be revisiting 2020? Are we gonna be redoing
Well,
shreds and all that?
I hope that's what we can do, because we've got to start out with a foundation whenever we start planning the town. And see, that identifies the corridor. We're going to see about, once we get this one taken care of, if we're gonna rezone, but then we need community input, we need to have input.
If we've got somebody helping us update that 2020 plan, we can put in the scope of services that they're gonna help us identify parcels in need of rezoning to make the plan happen. That's where I think.
With the citizens' input and
Right,
all that, the
exactly.
shreds and everything that we did, okay, great.
Does anyone have anything there, Michelle, that we need to answer before we?
No, I think, honestly, I think we're all good. Anybody have
Is
anything
anyone
else to
still
say?
listening?
Yeah, I think they're asleep.
Came back, and, they're gonna go back to Facebook. I mean, this is the only way we know how to engage with the public, is ask them, and then, of course, I do need to clarify this unless from Mayor Brady and Mayor, Jackson, and we may wanna run this by the attorney, since we're doing it this way, and we're going and having our meetings, so that they're not to shut down. If this classifies as not breaking any sunshine laws, you know what I'm saying, we're exposed, I just wanna make sure that we're not doing something wrong. I don't think it would either, but I'm not an attorney, so, we can only allow so many people in the room, so I don't wanna think that restriction, which such as a mandate, is not breaking any laws, because we're not trying to.
But Marilyn and I talked about it today. I actually maybe am the only person left in the world who likes Zoom remote meetings, but I don't mind at all going fully remote, particularly if it lets people who are in quarantine participate. They just go well. I mean, we've been doing Zoom meetings for the Mountain Goat board for 6 months, 8 months now.
So is Rotary, so is folks at home.
Well, I mean, we can convert to that in the near future. I mean, you know what I'm saying, we can see about doing that if we need to.
I enjoy being with people, but I could do it that way too.
Well, I mean, I think we're new, we're starting out, we need that visibility, and we need to expose ourselves, even if we were doing Zoom, everybody will not be on Zoom, it's going to be doing this out, and we need to put it on the CCTV. And the way to do that is having somebody recording what we're doing, like in a studio, right? I mean, that's basically That's what we're trying to do. I don't know if you can comment on that or not, but you know what I'm saying? Just nod your head, yes, no, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with Will. But anyway, so, but, you know, we'll do our best. And if we need to, we are exploring the cost, and actually I did ask, and I'll ask you, you know, we need to explore the cost, which is the best. Is it go-to meetings is what Marion County uses. Google Meetings was mentioned today. Of course, you say Zoom, you know, like the university, I'm just saying.
Go-to works
yeah.
really well too.
Yeah, so whichever one is the best, if we have that backup plan, so if we all get COVID, we're gonna have to do something. You know,
Microsoft has a product as well, that does, yeah.
Well, I saw
I've
that
used
one
those.
today, but I've never used it, so, cause I've got both Microsoft and I've got the Google, you know, meetings that you can do, I just, you know, last night.
It's just, you know, with Monteagle, we have such a diverse, constituency. You know, not everybody Zooms. You know?
So,
I mean, you know, there's the Zoomers and then there's
And there's no Facebook.
then there's the Facebookers, you know, I mean, it's,
There's still the GCTV people that's the way it's scheduled from Thursday
Yeah.
to Sunday, it runs on GCTV for those that wanna pick it up, you know, and it's scheduled at different times.
well, I know for Zoom and GoToWebinar, those record the meetings, so then you have a digital recording, you can put it on Facebook, you can put it on GCTV, do whatever you want to with it when it's done. It takes, for some reason with Zoom, it takes 10 minutes after the meeting's over, you get a link saying, here, your recording is ready.
Well, the only way you could do that, then of course you don't have a backup, we have to run the DVD. We'd have to prepare it and make sure, you know what I'm saying, there's steps that we would have to do. And of course, one of the things I did talk to the attorney about then, we've got an outside source to look at some of these things resolved. There's no way Nate could edit it, you know what I'm saying, or I could edit it, or somebody could edit it unless it's an outside person doing it.
Well, it sounds like Grundy County's got their own cameras, they're just doing it. And well, but I mean, they have the capability to do it.
Then you get into paying someone to operate every time. That's where I set them up, but they're probably not gonna pay me, but I want to come in and operate.
I got that.
Every night, you have to have a test.
And they're not going to do that, where we have an outside source that provides us with the DVD, and also they air it on TV for some price.
I just want a live webcam in here, so anytime anybody's in here, you can go to our website and see it.
And that makes it something.
Just like the Eagle cams, you know, they got where you can see the Eagles, but just have the Monteagle cam, where you can come and you
Hey,
can
we've
see
talked
whatever's
about
happening in
doing
City
that.
Hall.
We actually wanted to have an Eagle search, there's a big oak in Georgia, that, they have had this for years, because Mom and I did it, and actually it's a little thing you do outside, and you can find little birds in this little town, and you've got this big oak, and it takes a picture, no one can get it, it's going on, get it, and they constantly, and they still say that. It's a little town in Georgia, and it's part of the tourism thing, that everything's outside, and this was way before COVID. It's really cute. We talked about doing with baby eagles, didn't we? It was part of the plan.
Yeah.
But that's again, part of the planning process, with the families come do and outside involvement.
Have y'all seen the bald eagles that are nesting here?
I have seen 2 eagles before, but I have not seen
There.
really nesting.
Above us?
Yeah.
They're on the building?
No, I mean in the sky. And we've seen bald eagles.
I guess we
probably
can close
3
it down if
times.
anybody needs
Yeah.
anything else. We let these crazy people go.
all right, are we done?
Yeah, I
We've
think
seen
we're
them
done
flying
tonight.
in
Thank you, and we'll
Monteagle
see you on
3
the
times
28th.
couple months.
He's not gonna speak?
No, he said he wasn't speaking. Is that correct? Okay, he doesn't want to speak. We gave him an opportunity 3 times.
All right, everyone, bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.